For now, though, it's draft time. Big Cat, we got rid of the coin toss. We do the trivia question now. You ask me the question today.
Okay, Saquon Barkley led the NFL in yards from scrimmage last year. Who is the last non-running back to lead the league in yards from scrimmage?
The last non-running back to lead the league in yards from scrimmage. I'd say Calvin Johnson, 2012.
Julio Jones in 2015.
Wow. Well, that's a very obscure question. Like, that's
Sorry.
well, all right. Well, you get the first pick. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're the football expert. All right, I'll take the first pick. I'll have the first pick because there's only one first pick when it comes to the biggest surprise teams of all time. I guarantee you had it as your number one pick. It is the 1999 St. Louis Rams. Trent Green, their starting quarterback, goes out for the season in the preseason. Everyone says, who is this guy who's been bagging groceries in Iowa? They were 4-12 in 1998. The St. Louis Rams, led by future Hall of Famer. He didn't know he was a Hall of Famer at the time. He was just a guy, a backup quarterback, Kurt Warner, and the St. Louis Rams. The greatest show on turf. What an explosive year. What a crazy year to come out of nowhere, to have that happen, to lose your starter, your starting quarterback, who everyone thought, Trent Green, this guy can do it in the preseason and then win the Super Bowl and go 13-3 and destroy teams. By far the number one pick overall, biggest surprise team of all time.
I don't agree with you that it's by far number one, and it is on my list. But, a similar dynamic played out just 2 years later with a team that was 5-11 in 2000, with a team that, and I remember vividly, I was listening to ESPN radio on a Saturday. Mel Kiper was hosting with someone, and Mel Kiper said that looking at the 2001 schedule of the New England Patriots, he believes they could be the first team in NFL history to go 0-16. And obviously it turned out quite differently for the Patriots, fueled by Drew Bledsoe suffering a serious injury at the shoulder of Mo Lewis, giving this sixth-round draft pick that nobody really was paying any attention to from 2000, Tom Brady, the chance to come on and play. They were 5-5 after 10 games. They lost to the St. Louis Rams during the regular season. Somehow dug out of it. Somehow it all fell together. Somehow beat the Raiders in the Snow Globe Tuck Rule game. Somehow went to Pittsburgh. I was at that game when the Patriots beat the Steelers. Brady got hurt during the game. Drew Bledsoe came in and finished it. And there was talk Bledsoe was going to start the Super Bowl. He expected he'd start the Super Bowl. They went back to Brady, and somehow they beat the greatest show-offs on turf to win Super Bowl 36. The Patriots of 2001, the all-time biggest surprise NFL team, boom, roasted.
No, it's not boom roasted, because when I made my pick, you said audibly, damn it. So I'm giving you a false sense of security so you don't work as hard to sell your case. All right, you can't
Lawyers.
do Jedi mind tricks on me. I do it on you. Mike, let's just keep leapfrogging along NFL history. You want to go 1999 Rams, 2001 Patriots. How about 2003 Carolina Panthers? They didn't win a Super Bowl, but Jake Delhomme took a team to the Super Bowl. Just let me say that one more time so people understand what I said. Jake Delhomme took a team to the Super Bowl. They were 1-15 2 years prior, Mike. They were 7-9 the year before. That team, no one expected it. John Fox, Jake Delhomme, that team came out of nowhere. I'm taking the 2003 Carolina Panthers. They were 3 points away from winning a Super Bowl. That was an all-time surprise team.
I am stunned that you did not do the Jake Delhomme name in Chris Berman voice with the Chris Berman nickname. I'm stunned. I'm disappointed.
What was it? Jake I can't remember.
Daylight come and I want a Delhomme.
Delhomme, yes. Jake Daylight comes and I want a Delhomme. Not as good as John Kitten Caboodle, but close.
Okay, that one wasn't on my list, so it must not have been a very good pick, or it would have been on my list. But look, I'm going to go back to the same decade, and even though this team didn't make it to the Super Bowl, The 2005 Saints were a disaster because of Hurricane Katrina, and they were playing in San Antonio. They were playing at LSU, and who do they have, and what's going on? And they have a new coach, and they get this quarterback from the then San Diego Chargers who had 27 studs in his shoulder, and they don't know whether or not Drew Brees is going to be able to play well. They get the second overall pick. They have Drew Brees fall to them, and it creates a ton of excitement in New Orleans. And then they start playing the games. They have that home game against the Falcons, the reopening of the dome, and yeah, it's fine. But once they start the game, the Falcons are going to roll all over them. You have the Steve Gleason punt. The next thing you know, the Saints under Sean Payton, with Drew Brees, with Reggie Bush, are in the NFC Championship game against your Chicago Bears. And even though it obviously didn't work out the way the Saints would have wanted, the fact that they dug that franchise out of nothing, they dug that city out of one of the worst catastrophes that any city has ever suffered in the history of the United States, that was unexpected. That was a great story, and that's got to make the list.
Okay, I like that pick. I also, that NFC Championship game, that was maybe the most perfect setting ever. It looked like Madden snow. It looked like a snow globe. Remember that snow coming down? And the Bears beat the Saints in the NFC Championship game in Chicago. Good pick. Not a great pick, but a good pick. So I'm going to finish my dominant draft with a little bit of a hezzy hey. I'm going to give you a little juke here, Mike. My third all-time surprise team in the NFL is a team that went 8-8, a team that didn't make the playoffs. Can you name the team that I'm talking about?
Are you saying they're surprised because they weren't good? They were expected to be good? Is that what you're doing? You're going the
Correct.
2000 Washington franchise. Is that what you're doing?
I'm going with the 2011, the most famous team out there, 2011 Eagles, the Dream Team. They had made the playoffs 3 years in a row. Everyone expected them to be one of the best teams in the NFL. They had an unbelievable offense the year before. Vince Young says Dream Team. They make a big splash in the free agency market. They start 4-8. Mike, they lost as 13-point favorites at home to John Skelton and the Arizona Cardinals. They ended up going 8-8, so they won their last 4 games, which I think even goes more to what I'm talking about because they showed that they had it. It just never came, they ran out of time, so to speak. So I'm saying one of the biggest surprise teams, a team everyone, I guarantee you, had in the playoffs that year, didn't make the playoffs, lost as 13-point favorites, fell on their face, the 2011 Dream Team Eagles.
I knew you were going to do one of those surprises in a negative way, and I really thought it would be 2000 Washington because they loaded up the cannon with Bruce Smith and Deion Sanders, and basically everyone was ready to hand them the Super Bowl trophy before the season even began, and they failed to make the playoffs. I can't remember whether they were 8-8 or worse than that. Got Norv Turner fired, and it was just a horrible disappointment in Dan Snyder's second year of ownership, and it's been one horrible disappointment after another since then. All right, I kind of hinted at this pick earlier in the show when I talked about that period of time a decade or so ago when the trendy prediction for analysts in the NFL was to say that the Cardinals were going to make the playoffs because the Cardinals are due. The Cardinals are due. The Cardinals are due. Well, in 2008, the Cardinals somehow made it to the playoffs. They somehow won the NFC West. And going into Week 17, they were 8-7, and they had lost 4 of their last 5 games. They were falling apart. They beat the Seahawks to finish the year 9-7 and win the division. And then I remember people saying that this is the worst team to ever qualify for the NFL playoffs. This was before that year that the Seahawks were sub 500 and still hosted a playoff game. The 9-7 2008 Cardinals, everyone was saying this team is horrible. They have no business being in the playoffs. They're going to be out quickly. And then the Falcons lose to the Cardinals. And then the Cardinals go to Carolina. And that was the night that Jake Daylight Come and Me Wanna Delhomme did Delhomme for good with 6 interceptions. Larry Fitzgerald was out of his mind. The next week they beat the Eagles, a team that had blown the Cardinals off the field on Thanksgiving night. And then they almost beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in what would have been one of the most stunning and most memorable Super Bowl outcomes of all time. It still is, but not the way it would have been if that Larry Fitzgerald shot out of a cannon to the end zone would have held up, and that would have been the winning points. So the 2008 Arizona Cardinals, to come as close as they did to winning the Super Bowl, after being derided by everyone at 9-7, after losing 4 out of 5 games down the stretch, to get to the Super Bowl and almost win it, one of the biggest surprises of all time, and I regret not drafting them higher, and thank you for leaving them for me with the 3rd round.
That's fine. I just did a little quick Google search. I searched your 2011 preseason predictions. You picked the Eagles to win the Super Bowl. The dream team.
Okay. I probably didn't pick the Cardinals to make the playoffs in 2008. So,
well, the Eagles didn't make the playoffs in 2011. The only other one I had on the list that I was thinking about picking was actually the 2017 Eagles with Nick Foles being the quarterback. That one just missed my mark there. So they obviously, I remember when Carson Wentz went down in L.A., and everyone said this season is over, and even Nick Foles in that first playoff game wasn't great. And then he went on an unbelievable magical run, and they beat the Patriots with the backup quarterback. 2017 Eagles would be my just missed the list.
I had them on the list as well. It was kind of a weird one because they were wire-to-wire 1 seed until Carson Wentz gets injured. But then it does become a surprise because they were the underdog in every home game. They were the underdog in every game of the postseason, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl. I also had the 1969 Jets. How can you not put the 1969 Jets on the list?
How can you not?
How can you not? Right? Well, we didn't. But at least we mentioned them. Joe Namath, you got your mention today. All right, Big Cat's got the 99 Rams, 2003 Panthers, 2011 Eagles. I got the 2001 Patriots, 2006 Saints, 2008 Cardinals. I win, he loses. That's okay. He'll get over it.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.